everybody, it's time to talk about Jack Frost 2. This came out in 2000 or 2002, early 2000s. Has a slightly bigger budget, and this one is about the Snowman getting revenge. The agency, they go to dig up the antifreeze. I don't want to say body, there is no body, but his soul's down there in the antifreeze. They want to continue their research, but they accidentally bring back Jack Frost in the process. And Jack Frost is now hell-bent on getting revenge once again on the Sheriff Tyler of the previous movie. So, and they're on vacation in the Bahamas or the Caribbeans or Jamaica. I don't know where. I'm going to guess Jamaica. Some island. And this is basically Jaws the Revenge. Let's just admit it. Because apparently now they introduced this psychic connection between the main sheriff and Jack Frost, because at the very end of the first movie, the sheriff was cut and he was in the antifreeze with Jack Frost as he was melting, and they kind of like fused together. So now they have a psychic connection. Jack Frost is following him to the Bahamas, to Jamaica, whatever, and they have a psychic connection. Jaws of Revenge, anybody? Anybody seen that? Yeah, very, very. So, and then the title, Jack Frost 2, Revenge of the Mutant Snowman. So, Jaws the Revenge, yeah, lots of little similarities. And they don't even, like, acknowledge the fact that they're ripping them off. Like, I thought there's going to be, like, a joke somewhere where they might reference it or kind of, like, wink and be like, yeah, we know what we're doing. But they don't. They just blatantly rip off that premise. And even the way they defeat Jack Frost, it kind of has some similarities to how they defeat the shark in Jaws of Revenge, you know, blows up. So, yeah, let's go into my pros. I like that this one really just ramps shit up. This has the introduction of all these baby snowballs that have the, icicle teeth once again, and one of them, they're basically gremlins. One of them has like a spike, like a mohawk icicle spike, which to me was like a reference to Spike in Gremlins. So I'm not sure if they were doing that on purpose. Is that like a paying tribute to Gremlins 2 or Gremlins 1, whatever? But this one, just like Gremlins 2, ramps things up. There's a lot more going on. There's a lot more carnage, there's a higher body count, there's a little bit better effects, more budget, but it doesn't really feel that big. It's still very small scale, because when you consider the fact that they're at a freaking resort, and all kinds of people would be there, and there's only like 5 people on the staff, really, that's where the small budget really becomes visible. Like, oh, yep, see, that's what small budget films do. They can't hire 1 million people, they can't make it look... They can't make it seem so realistic and hire like 30 staff members, but it's just funny, like, after the movie's over and you think about it, like, man, there's only like 4 people working there, and there's only like 6 people staying at the resort. And I like that the guy who's in charge, the manager, he keeps trying to like cover up each death as some weird accident. And I heard that guy is actually the director's father. I thought that was a little interesting fact. But he just reminded me of Mel in Sleepaway Camp. Like, it was an accident. The girl who got squished by a giant snow anvil, that was an accident. It shit happens all the time. And, yeah, this movie just has way more fun. It's way more goofy. Like, everything in between is goofy. Like, the first one, there's comedy, but it's mainly, like, centered around, like, Jack. Like, all the comedy is, like, when Jack Frost is around. And this one, like, everybody's funny. Every character stands out. They all got a cliche, like, personality. You got the gay guy who's a photographer. You got the bimbo, and the stoner dudes that talk like stoners, and just this group of girls that are cannon fodder. Like, you got all, like, every box checked off. Like, you got all these different characters. You got the, like, hyper one, Captain Fun, who's the real villain of this movie. Like, he jumps in bed in between the sheriff and his wife, and their reaction to it is like, it's not even realistic at all. Like, they're at like a 2 on an anger scale. They should be at 10. They're just like, what are you doing here? Like, it's like, dude, he's on your bed. Do you realize this? You should be like pissed off, calling the cops. Like, dude, get the fuck off my bed. Get out of my room. But he's just like jumping in bed. Like, it's time for archery class. I just love Captain Fun. I think he was hilarious. I love the cast. There's some cast continuity. And we got the same sheriff and wife, and even, like, I think the return of Marla and Joe. And then Jack Frost, the guy who voices Jack Frost, comes back. So that's continuity, and I'm a big fan of continuity. This has a slightly better pace than the last one because it's just so fun. Everything in between is fun. They bring back Manners, who's the one cast who isn't the same guy. Like, that's where the continuity is kind of severed, but they explain why he looks different. The guy who got like icicles in his face in the last one, he comes back, he's like, I got 15 surgeries, that's why I look different. But every time he's on screen, they have this weird, like, ominous, like, suspenseful music playing. And it's just hilarious. I loved it. As for any, like, negatives, like I said, it just rips off Jaws 4. And that's a little nitpick. Like, if you're going to rip off a movie, admit it. Don't just blatantly rip them off. The baby snowballs, they don't do much. I think they kill like 1 or 2 people, but they don't do a whole lot. They're introduced, and they're kind of just going around, and they don't really do much. They're kind of just like cheering and wreaking havoc on the resort, but they're not really killing anybody. So I wish they could have done more with that, but it's probably a budgetary reason why they couldn't do so much with them. And they leave their son behind. Dicks! I know he tried to kill you with antifreeze, but they just leave their son in America, and they just go on vacation without him during Christmas. Like, that's when the family should be together. So it just made me think that they were dicks. I was like, you're going to leave your son behind 1 year later after everything that happened. He needs you now more than ever. This movie opens up with a therapy session, and they don't believe him, like the secretary or the receptionist, like the girl up front in charge of like the phone and whatnot. They're like eavesdropping in on the therapy session. They're laughing their ass off because they don't believe his story, and the therapist doesn't believe his story. It's like, so many people were there in the first one, so many witnesses, so many people that could, like, say, like, yeah, I was there, that happened. So it just didn't seem believable. Like, I guess a killer snowman would be hard to believe, even if 50 people were like, yes, I was there, it happened. You'd still be like, whatever, I'm not falling for it. But yeah, I was just kind of like, really? No one is going to back up his story? They all think he's bullshit. And like I already said, there's 5 workers at this resort. Give me a break. And yeah, that's it. So, final thoughts for Jack Frost 2. I think this one's even better than the first one. It's got way more fun in it, way more entertainment, a better kills and higher body count. And it's basically the same movie as the first one, but just ramped up. It does like the Alien to Aliens thing, Gremlins to Gremlins 2. It's all ramped up. It's way more fun. You can't take it serious. It's very comedic, but I just have fun with it. So it's not a great movie. There's definitely like effects in it that don't age. There's corny puns. There's some humor that doesn't land. There might be a couple of annoying characters. You might not like the character cliches, and you might find them offensive, but whatever. It's a fun movie. So when it comes to Jack Frost 2, I highly recommend checking this one out at least once. So check it out at Redbox. It's free on Vudu, so go right ahead, check it out if you can. So let's go into my spoiler thoughts. Like I said, the therapy session at the beginning, that was hilarious. Just like them listening, and they're like, come listen to his story. And he's saying the nursery rhyme from the beginning of the first one. I like that. That was pretty cool. The agency hires some guy to go dig up the grave, and bring back Jack Frost on accident. And the guy who... Jack Frost is brought back by coffee. Coffee gets spilled into this tank that the antifreeze is in, and it brings it back. So I guess coffee woke him up. But the character who's playing the janitor who knocks the coffee into the tank, he's casted as Idiot. That's his name. Captain Fun. I loved him. Manners was my favorite character. I thought he was pretty cool. He comes back from the first movie. He's got an eye patch. And just everything he said was just funny. We find out that the new weakness is bananas because of their psychic connection. They're connected to each other, so the sheriff has a banana weakness, so therefore Jack Frost has a banana weakness. And they just have like these bazooka, like what do they call it? The water zookas, is that what they call them? Those water guns that you like pump up. They put banana juice in it and stuff. Like I said, it doesn't take itself serious, not one bit, and it's hilarious. And even at the very end of the movie, if you stick around after the credits, Joe and Marla are left in the freezer and they just freeze to death. That is a dark, hilarious ending. I love that. It kind of goes back to what I said about Jack Frost 1. I wish the ending was like on that level, like someone dies, that at the last second, like the son, when he's like, here's the arm you forgot, and it just snaps his neck. That's what I wanted, but we didn't get it. Then we get this photo shoot, and Jack Frost is like in the ice cube, so he can like morph, or he can turn himself into the ice. And she puts the ice on her tits, and he's like having fun, like, yes, I'm so lucky. And then she chews on the ice, and he's like, oh, you bitch. And then her head like blows up. And then this professional photographer who has a professional camera, like he dies off camera, but like his camera's like taking pictures of him, and it's like a Polaroid now. There's all these Polaroid pictures landing on the floor, and that doesn't make sense. His camera was not a Polaroid. That's a nitpick, but whatever. I had to point it out. That is like, really. That doesn't add up. We get a guy who puts his tongue on a frozen pole, so then his tongue's stuck to it, and his head gets pulled off, and that fake tongue just gets ripped off. Some gnarly effects right there.
Nah, this might sting a bit, bro.
What's up, man?
The snowball fight from hell. Jack Frost is throwing all these snowballs, and they're like taking off limbs. But then this other guy, he gets hit by like 40 snowballs, and not a single limb is missing. So it's like, this snowball takes off an arm. These snowballs just hurt people. Jack Frost is able to turn the entire island into a snowy climate. It starts snowing outside, and it's cold. And for some reason, everybody brought thick layers and extra clothing. It's like, who plans to bring all kinds of coats and long sleeve, jackets and shit to the Bahamas? I was just sitting like, oh, it's a good thing they brought that, just in case it for some reason snowed. And what kills me is that nobody bats an eye. They're just like, oh my gosh, it's snowing. It hasn't snowed in like over 100 years or so. It happened once, I think, and they're not even pissed. Like, if I paid thousands of dollars to go to the Bahamas during Christmas to escape the cold weather, and all of a sudden it started snowing, and there was just inches on the ground, I'd be pissed, and I want a refund. Like, give me my money back. I'm going deeper south. I like that Manners has a laser sight on his little water gun. Just little extra layers of comedy. Like, it's already funny, the situation, but they add extra layers of awesomeness to it by adding the laser sight on it. Then Captain Fun gets killed by the baby snowball. The snowball hatches like an egg, and then there's a snowball within it, and an icicle comes out of its head and like stabs Captain Fun right in the eye. And then they like try to keep capturing all the snowballs in like these plastic containers, but it's like they have icicles that are sharp and they can just stab their way out. So how's that gonna work? One thing I didn't really care for is that Jack Frost really takes a back seat in this third act. He just hatches all these eggs, and they take over for like 15-20 minutes of the movie, and Jack Frost is nowhere to be seen. And then he shows up when they're all dead, and I like that they all die in like a war montage. It just feels like a war movie. Everything's in slow-mo. They're all like getting shot and blowing up. But yeah, he comes back, sees that his children are dead, that he just like never even spent time with, and he's like crying. Like, he has some connection with them. He's, like, all upset. And then he's like, now it's killing time. Like, now? Now it's killing time? Like, what was all that shit before then? Then Jack Frost, he boxes in Anne, the wife of the sheriff. And I thought that was pretty cool, neat idea. He just turns himself into, like, four walls and boxes her in. And then, like, all these icicle spikes are coming through. It's like an Iron Maiden just closing in on her. And then he just like, absorbs her. And then the sheriff comes back with like a banana, like bow and arrow, like he's Rambo, shoots him, and he blows up, and the wife's okay. Really? She should be dead or at least hurt. And then it hints at a sequel with Jackzilla. There was supposed to be a sequel at some point, and the director still has interest in a Jack Frost 3, Jackzilla. And the end of this movie, during the credits, there's like a Japanese boat that's delivering a shipment to the island, and then a giant carrot just comes and crushes it in half. What are your thoughts on Jack Frost 2? I'd like to see if anyone actually likes this movie like me. Do you think it's bad, or do you think it's so good that it's bad, or do you say, fuck you haters, it's good? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button, and you can become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.